energy is more than a commodity. It is a human right. We must seek to solve the energy access challenge with a commitment to giving people power for a dignified and productive life. We simply cannot be satisfied providing poor solutions for poor people. Therefore, we must go beyond basic levels of lighting and charging to provide energy that can create jobs and sustain economies. We are at a pivotal moment in our transformation and the global energy transformation. There are two tides that are competing right now. How we collectively decide to act at this moment will determine whether we progress on our shared goals or we undo decades of action. As the global geopolitics evolves, international cooperation, especially on clean energy, is at an all-time low. And yet the economics of energy transition has never been more favorable, especially for developing countries, where the energy transition offers us the development opportunities of our lifetimes. Being here in the Caribbean, we can see firsthand that climate change is no longer a distant threat. It is affecting communities, affecting economies, and affecting ecosystems, from flooding in coastal communities to heat distress in agricultural regions. As part of the solution, I'd like to highlight Barbados, which holds a unique position in the global landscape because it's one of the few countries that aims to achieve net zero in the next 10 years. Through the Barbados Energy Transition and Investment Plan, the country has the opportunity to transform its economy while demonstrating what is possible in a small island state. Excellencies, we have less than 5 years to 2030, the end line for the Sustainable Development Goals, as we urgently need to push for higher ambition, stronger policies, greater financial flows, increased localization and green jobs, and faster results towards SDG 7, which calls for affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for everyone by 2030.
When we speak of energy in the Caribbean, we are fortunate that the majority of our people have access to energy. But we ignore the fact that across the global south, that there are, of the 1.4 billion people in Africa, 600 million people who remain without electricity. We're thankful for the leadership of the World Bank and its president, Ajay Banga, for committing to wanting to have that 600 million and to secure for 300 million energy. But 300 million people is inconceivable to us in a small rock whose population is less than 300,000 people. And the notion that we can continue with business as usual, with persons being denied access to energy, is at the core of national instability, regional instability, and ultimately global instability. I want to suggest to you that the confluence of both the climate crisis and the lack of basic energy for propelling development means that we have to redouble our efforts in spite of those who would wish now to put brakes on access to financing for ordinary people to be able to secure their future. Ordinary people need energy. It is what has propelled growth in the last few centuries in ways that mankind never contemplated could happen. To the point where our own engagement with our own sense of who we are as humanity is being put to the test with the ultimate output of energy in the form of AI.
We needed to make progress on energy. We worked with the International Energy Agency to facilitate dialogue and consensus. And we brought over 60 countries together endorsed the COP29 declarations on energy storage, grids, zones, corridors, and hydrogen. These declarations aim to accelerate commitments while providing a clear roadmap for scaling up renewables and improving energy efficiency, key to meeting urgent net zero targets. Thus, the COP29 presidency's energy pledges will foster cooperation, strengthen political commitment, and drive meaningful action. They will support technology innovation, infrastructure development, interconnection, and other critical aspects of sustainability and energy efficiency. I take this opportunity to invite all those who have not yet supported to join COP29 energy initiatives, helping to make them as inclusive and globally impactful as possible. Dear colleagues, the final Baku finance goal was a historic commitment. It was a promise to mobilize $300 billion a year for the developing world by 2035. It tripled the previous goal and is the largest financial commitment ever made in the UN negotiations. It will provide investment in clean energy systems for communities around the world. And it sent a clear call to scale up finance from all sources to $1.3 trillion a year. The COP29 presidency will work to ensure that countries enact the pact that they will have made. This was a collective agreement, and collectively it must be delivered, with developed countries taking the lead. And we are working closely with our Brazilian colleagues to set out the Baku to Belém roadmap to 1.3 trillion.
We're expanding the renewable energy capacity, improving energy efficiency, ensuring universal access to modern energy services. These efforts align with our commitment to Sustainable Development Goal 7, ensuring affordable, reliable, and sustainable energy for all by the year 2030 and the net zero targets outlined in the Paris Agreement. President Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan has been championing clean cooking solutions both in Tanzania and across Africa. Her leadership has brought global attention to urgent need for cleaner cooking fuel technologies to reduce reliance on traditional biomass fuel. Through various global platforms such as Summit on Clean Cooking in Africa, which she co-chaired in Paris in May 2024, a total of $2.2 billion was mobilized in financial to support clean cooking initiative in Africa. Through the Tanzania National Clean Cooking Strategy, which takes 10 years, Tanzania aims at ensuring 80% of our households adopt clean cooking solution by the year 2034. This ambitious strategy addresses environmental degradation, indoor air pollution, and gender inequality, ensuring that energy access also translates into better health and social-economic opportunities. Ladies and gentlemen, ensuring that Tanzania benefits from energy transition being as a key priority to us. This is why we are complementing large-scale energy investment, such as distribution of subsidized gas cylinders for low-income individuals and households, providing financial incentives such as tax exemption to help private sector expand into remote areas, offering institutional support to the transition of clean cooking, including accelerating a clean cooking transition in schools, especially in Tanzania, a program which has been implemented by Sustainable Energy for All in partnership with the World Food Programme and the government of Tanzania. And the campaign to raise awareness to bring clean cooking solution to those who need them mostly is underway in the country. Tanzania also has made a significant stride in expanding renewable energy projects such as the Julius Nyerere hydropower project with a capacity of 2,115 megawatts, are transforming our energy landscape by providing reliable, sustainable power to millions. Additionally, we are scaling up investment in solar and other renewable sources while promoting energy efficient technologies across various sectors.
Sierra Leone is dedicated to its commitment to sustainable energy. Our government has prioritized renewable energy as a catalyst for economic transformation, resilience, and social equity. We are progressing towards universal energy access by implementing policies that encourage investment in clean energy, expanding mini-grids, and forming strategic partnerships, all of which are necessary for success at the end of the road. In November 2024, during the Climate Resilience and Energy Transition Dialogue, Sierra Leone introduced the Energy Transition and Investment Plan, which aims to attract investment for 1 gigawatt of power. The Energy Transition and Investment Plan is not just a roadmap for energy development. It is actually a way for us to show our national commitment to transformative vision, and it embraces innovation, resilience, and sustainability, and tells a whole new story about us. Central to this vision is an ambitious, low-carbon development pathway, which is aimed at integrating and supporting various key national priorities. It is closely aligned with the goals of our National Development Plan, our flagship Feed Salon program, the National Electrification and Clean Cooking Strategies, and Sierra Leone's nationally determined contributions. By consolidating all of these essential initiatives under a unified strategy, we ensure that our energy transition directly supports our country's broader socioeconomic development.
Energy Week 2024.
I want to welcome everybody to this city, Cape Town, to Africa. Many call it Africa. We call it home. Welcome home.
We are gathered here not only because we want to electrify Africa, not only because we believe in the future Africa, not only because we believe that is the last reservoir of productive capacity for the world, but also because we believe that we are reaching a milestone in our journey. And this milestone is very much related to capacity building. We want to engage relevant stakeholders and get the backing of financial partners. And for that, we need to get beyond the traditional way of financing projects. We need to get actionable projects and finance them in 2030 and 2035. And for that, we need to pitch them. We need to finance them in 2025. There's no secret. For all these projects, power plants, grids, green shipping fuels, pipelines, connectivity to materialize, we should be drafting offtake agreements and financing them today. Adapting and scaling all these business models are key to successful and fast-track energy access and electrification programs with a focus on local and distributed generation and technology flexibility. In Morocco, as you know, we have reached 99.8% of rural electrification. And I would call on the quote of the chairman of the African Union and Mr. President of the Islamic Republic of Mauritania when he quoted the difficulty of the last mile and the difficulty to finance and access the last mile. And in parallel, of course, we need to put together a supportive regulatory environment with a focus on facilitating multiple small-scale projects and setting clear pricing expectations. Because investors need visibility, and our role as governments is to provide them that transparency and that visibility to provide long-term financing for projects. And we also need to push for a new vision of multilateralism and reform of multilateral financial institutions. And again, I'll be quoting here His Majesty King Mohammed VI at the annual World Bank IMF meetings in Marrakesh, when he said that these meetings of the IMF and the World Bank annual gathering concluded that there was a pressing need to reform multilateralism and development financing. Two levers humanity came up with to meet the challenges of the 20th century. Two levers in which we believe today. So multilateral banks, international financial organizations serve as catalysts, but they need to do more, and we're happy to see the signing of the MOU by providing guarantees and risk-sharing mechanisms to reduce the perceived risks. These are perceived risks most of the time associated with investments in utilities and energy, particularly in Africa. As you know, in Morocco, we have also had that experience, 30 years of experience of attracting financial private capital in the energy systems. Because we've been an infrastructure space as well. We had our first independent power producer back in 1992. So we've had that long experience of attracting and putting together and structuring bankable projects, so we can capitalize on those experiences and we can capitalize on those lessons. And today we need win-win partnerships and an adequate risk allocation for our projects. In renewables, we've launched massive investments, again, with a focus on multiplying investments in our grids by 5 annually, multiplying investments in power generation, including renewable, by 3 annually. And of course, a minimum local industrial content of 30% in all renewable projects. And I would like to say a few words, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, on the political vision that we have for the energy sector in Morocco and in Africa. It's connectivity. We've invested heavily and massively in our grid. and our connectivity with our neighbors. And I'm pleased to say that we signed last week in Rabat an MOU, an agreement with our friends and our brothers in the Republic of Mauritania to develop an electricity interconnection. But that's not the first step, because we know we cannot succeed alone, and we need to work together, and we need to ensure that our markets are connected, not from an energy perspective, not from an economic perspective, but from a social and stability and peace perspective. If our markets are not connected, we will never be able to counter terrorism in our region. We will never be able to get our politics to transcend our economic transformation, and we will never be able to put our countries on the path of sustainable development. So in Morocco, our geostrategic vision that we call the Atlantic Corridor aims to unlock Africa's growth potential, aims to ensure that countries of the Sahel have access to the Atlantic Ocean, aims to ensure that more than 400 million people in Africa have access to modern forms of energy, including, of course, gas connectivity. Morocco is one of the 5 global connectors of the global value chains. It's also a land of reconciliation. We are facilitating cooperation between major geopolitical blocs in areas like knowledge, intelligence, research and development, and we need that for the development of batteries, of storage, of grid management. So we really want to be a facilitator and a driver of this economic and social transition unfolding before us. We are continuing our active role in accelerating the integration of energy markets, connecting, of course, the 2 shores of the Mediterranean Sea with our partners in Europe and Africa and the Atlantic Basin. And our ambition, excellencies and ladies and gentlemen, is what we call an OTC corridor. OTC does not mean over the counter here. It means originate, transit and certify. And it means that every molecule, every product, every electron originating, transiting and being certified in Morocco is being certified as not only green, but in the wider environmental, social and government sense, because we believe in peace, prosperity and sustainable development. Thank you very much.